Hey y'all, it's Brad Allen, broker in charge over at The Art of Real Estate. And today we're talking about my favorite documents. And it amazes me how many clients I've talked to that have been previously listed that their agent never gave this to them. Now, if you're a good agent, you're probably like, yeah, sure, we always use a seller's net. But honestly, a lot of people don't understand the value and the strength in a seller's net. So I'm gonna take a trip down memory lane, but before I do that, I promise if you watch this entire video, I will give you our seller's net that we use right here at The Art of Real Estate that you can use in your everyday business that will help you be a better realtor, have better conversations, and happier clients. So you gotta watch to the end, I'll give you those details. So let's take that trip down memory lane. Who remembers back in 21, 22 when shit was crazy? Every house was getting multiple offers, 15, 16, 17 offers sometimes, right? How are you able to put that in front of the seller and help them choose the best offer that's for them? Well, the answer is a seller's net. By having a seller's net, you just took that 10, 20, or if you're in California, 60-page contract and put it into one succinct column that shows that seller what this offer means to their bottom line. Let me take a step back. You should also do this when you price the house. Hey, Mr. Seller, I think your house is between X and Y, and here's what your seller's net would be if you listed for these two offers and got a contract for those amounts. It makes them feel like they're in charge, which they are, but it also is full transparency. They know if they sell their house for 400, that they're gonna walk away with X. I don't know what their payoff is, but they're gonna walk away with that number. And that makes it a whole lot easier to negotiate. So the way I like to do it is when I get an offer in, I fill out a seller's net, and the very top, right, starts with the price. Let's use 400,000. It's got 400,000 at the top, and then I tell them there's about 5 items below that, and what you'll notice if you hire a real estate agent, you will most likely have these fees. Now, I can't say that for every single person out there, but if they hire a real estate agent, obviously you're not working for free, so your commission will pop up next. Below that, you're probably gonna have some attorney's fees. Now, at least in South Carolina, we're an attorney state. There's a little bit that the attorney does for a seller. I usually tell them it's no more than about $700 for the attorney to prepare their deed, overnight their payoff, get their payoff, all those kinds of things. Also in South Carolina, and I'm sure like most states, we have a transfer tax. We call them deed stamps. They're $3.70 per thousand. So you take the sales price, 400,000, so 400 times $3.70 gives you that number. And the last one is taxes. In South Carolina, we have property taxes and they're paid in arrears. So at closing, the seller has to make the buyer whole. You can do this one of two ways. You can actually try and calculate. And so let's say today is March 1st and we think it's gonna sell June 1st. You can go in and do that math. How do you do that math? Very good question. One, take their last tax bill, divided by 365 days. Google what day of the year is June 30th, and it'll give you a number. Let's say it's 180. And you take that number times 180, and that's the proposed proration of taxes. These are all relative numbers, they're not exact. What I like to do is I just write in wash. And what I mean by that is the seller has been paying an escrow most likely and putting their taxes away every month to pay that tax bill when it's due in January. So when they close on that house in June or July or whatever it is, they're gonna make the buyer whole for that amount of money, but they're also gonna get that money back from their escrow, so it kind of washes out. And I tell them it's not dollars to dollars, but it's gonna be pretty relevant. When I get an actual offer, I can calculate the taxes for them to be a lot more accurate. But right now, when I'm listing the house, I put that in there. And then we have a bunch of things below the line that could come from an offer. When I'm filling the seller's net out for the client, when I'm going to the listing appointment, I'm just filling out the things I just talked about. I'm not gonna fill out the rest of them because these could be's. I don't wanna include them because it's gonna make like their seller's net look a lot less, and I don't wanna overestimate. It can include a home warranty. If the buyer's asking for closing costs, if the buyer's agent's asking for commission, if they've gotta make repairs, if they're an out-of-state seller and they're getting hit with a property tax on top of what they're already paying in property taxes, all that stuff will be lined out. At the bottom, we gross it up, right? So 400 minus all those fees, give us our gross number. At the listing appointment, I don't ask for their payoff, obviously, because I don't need to know that. I'm not their agent yet. But you better believe when I list the property, I want their payoff in there because I gotta make sure that they can sell the house and still be able to walk away and not do a short sale. So after you do all that math, you have their gross, subtract out their payoff, then you're gonna get the seller's net. I like to do a high and a low. So I'll tell the seller, if you can stomach the low and make $40,000, if you can stomach that, then I think we can be a good fit, because obviously the high is probably we're gonna be closer to, and you can make 80,000 or whatever those numbers become. And what this does right here, one, it lets them know if they sell for 400, they're gonna make between 40 and 80,000. So now they know wide-eyed what they're getting themselves into. And then when we get an offer, and let's say they were okay making 40,000. Like, yes, if I could take 40,000 home, I'm ecstatic. Fast forward, we get an offer, and somebody offers them $410,000 with $10,000 in closing costs and all this stuff, I put it in the seller's net. Because what can happen is sellers get hung up on that $10,000 in closing costs, right? They're like, I don't want to pay their closing costs. My argument to them is like, does it really matter, right? If they need closing costs, do I really care? As long as it doesn't affect your bottom line. So if I do that seller's net and they're still walking away with $40,000 because they offered them more to cover it, now I can say, hey, you're getting your 40 grand. Congratulations. Do you want to take the offer? And now they have eyes wide open. They can say yes or no, and they know what they're going to walk away with. And if they say no, I'm like, fantastic. What would you like to counter back at? So now there's no back and forth. There's no confusion. There doesn't matter if there's one thing one buyer's asking for versus another. It all comes down to the very last number. Also, it gives you as an agent the ammunition to go back to your seller and go, hey, they offered you 400. You're walking with the 40. You said you're good with it. Why are you not taking this? And it kind of lets you have that conversation and hold your client's feet to the fire. Now, we can't make them take an offer, but it allows us to have a conversation. The best part about a seller's net is when you get multiple offers, you take all 10 offers, you put them on seller's nets, and it lets them know what they're going to get with each offer. Because gosh knows, every single offer can be different. There's so many different parts, and trying to convey that to a client is really, really tough, and it can confuse them and make your life a lot more miserable too. So as I promised, if you do me a favor, if you subscribe to this channel, if you shoot me a nice little comment below, it can even be just an emoji, and then DM me, I will send you the seller's net that we have refined over the years, that we use hundreds of times a year, that gives our clients a full view of what their house is going to sell for and what they're going to walk away with. So if you do that for me, I'll do that for you. And as always, keep watching these videos. My goal is to help every real estate agent up their game. And if we can do that, our whole entire profession will be better. If you're looking for a place to call home for your real estate license, give me a call. Or if you're looking for a place to send referrals in South Carolina, Georgia, or North Carolina, let me know too. But as always, I'll see you in the next video.